Howdy, today we're going to rock on a little minimum till, no till. I'm out at the Fruita Research Station, the CSU Research Station out in Fruita. Here's a couple of traditional plows. These would be moldboard plows. There's two of them side by side. They're fairly aggressive in that they cut down into the soil, and then by that side scooping action, they'll actually lift the topsoil and turn it over. That would be a 3-row here, and over here would be a 4-row. And then you'll notice that it has a shifting mechanism because as you're going down and plowing on one side, it will flip the soil and set it off to one side. And then when you turn the tractor around through the hydraulics on the 3-point, you can also turn this. And then that way you're plowing the soil all in the same direction no matter which way you're driving the tractor. Very disruptive on the soil, really harsh on the microbiology, and also exposes a lot of organic matter. With traditional plowing on that moldboard plow, you make big chunks out in the field, so it's not uncommon to have to come behind with a disc and break up those bigger chunks into smaller chunks. Then not uncommon for folks to come behind with a tiller and break up the medium chunks into small chunks. Depending on the crop, you might get away with a oh boy, cultipacker. That's what I know them by, as a cultipacker. Really nice because the rollers on the front and the back there help to keep the soil nice and patted down, real nice for seeding into. Sometimes you can go right from a disc to the cultipacker, but sometimes you need to run a tiller in between. So unfortunately that means if you're going to use a moldboard plow, then come behind with a disc, then a tiller, then the cultipacker, that's 4 passes, and then you still have to come through with a seeder. So there's quite a few opportunities where using a minimum till or a no-till could save you money in fuel and labor. Off in the distance there, that's a tractor pulling a traditional plow. And you can see now that this field has been plowed in a traditional manner. Quite choppy, lots of aggregate material. All the vegetation has been stirred up to be, all the organic matter is exposed to the sunlight and oxygen, which makes it break down faster. Quite a large amount of the microbiology has been exposed up to the UV rays. Any mycelium chains from the fungal colonies have certainly been severed. And now this field's going to take at least a couple more passes to break up some of these large chunks. There's probably 2-foot ditches in between where the plow was running. So probably need a disc and till, which is quite a bit more work on the soil there. Starting off with a little bit of minimum till. This is a strip tiller. You can see that it is a 4-row model. It's a pretty fantastic piece of equipment. It has a real nice cutting wheel right up in the front there that can cut through turf, existing cover crop, and then the 2 coulter discs in the back that can separate and open it up a little bit, and then a couple more discs to kind of make a good space for where your crop would like to go, and then a nifty little tiller wheel to condition up the soil. And that's also on a spring load there, so you can adjust the tension on it. And then it's a 3-point, so it mounts right onto the back of a tractor. And then with the back end lowered down, you can go as deep as you'd like to go on getting some strip tilling. So the point would be that your cover crop would stay in place in the middle strips, and then you'd have some nice tilled up areas to plant a row crop in between. This is a pretty nifty buffalo creaser that after you've harvested your crop and you've got a lot of residue, you can hook this back on the back of a tractor, and there again it has a 3-point hitch, and then it goes down and it works through the creases. So these little spades here will go down the crease where the water is, and it will push all the plant debris and material up into the furrow here. So that gap is where the crops are, and then these chutes here go down the crease, and then that will push everything out. That way when you're doing surface irrigation, your water can still flow through the crop. And you can see here this will do 6 rows at a time. So it's a pretty handy tool for cleaning up your field, getting ready for planting. Real nice option here on a subsoil tiller. 3-foot shanks that stick down into the soil. It's on a 3-point hitch. hitch, so as your tractor lowers down, you can regulate the depth of it, and then you can see those single tines will pull pretty cleanly through the soil to bust up the subsoil but not harm the topsoil too much. And a 3-tine subsoil ripper. This one's needing a big old tractor to be able to pull this big old piece of metal. And the planters. This would be a traditional planter. Straightforward cutting discs on the front with a seeder in behind, and then you can regulate the depth of the seed going in. As compared to this no-till seeder here, this would be a Truex as the manufacturer here. And you'll see again it has these Coulter discs on the front to be able to cut through existing cover crop or any pasture. And then behind it there's a series of discs where the seed actually comes out. This would be a vacuum seeder here, and so you can precisely place the seed right where the cutters cut through the turf or the vegetation, and then you can still get your seed planted appropriately. And then these wheels come and pat down the soil behind it. This is a pretty nifty model because it does have a capacity for a large seed. We'll also do a medium seed, and then you can do a small seed here up front for some of your alfalfa and clover seed. And then you can regulate the spacing and depth on that dude and plant right through an existing cover crop and still get growth coming up. This is a real interesting no and minimum till study that the folks at the CSU Research Station are doing. In front of me here would be a field that has been harvested and all the plant debris was left. Right next to it on the right there would be a field that has been traditionally plowed, and then just past it is a field that was harvested and then all of the plant material was removed. So there's no debris, but the plant roots are still in place. The interesting thing about this study is not only is it comparing yield and plant response to the different tilling systems, but they're finding an incredible difference in moisture. The water consumption in the no-tilled areas is much less compared to the fields that have been tilled real heavily. And here's another study happening with some minimum tilling where you can see the plant debris was removed as opposed to no-till where all the plant material has been left. You can see the occasional holes there where soil samples have been taken. Measuring the bulk density of the soil, we're finding a lot more porosity in the soil where there's some of the leftover plant residue. There's plans for a biology soil scientist to come out from Fort Collins here this June and do a little biological enumeration. Certainly where the soil samples were pulled with the plant residue in place, there were noticeable difference in earthworms, stronger population, whereas in the areas that have been completely harvested and all the plant material removed, not as much biology and definitely a drier soil profile as well. About a week ago, this field the farmer came through with a subsoil ripper, a single shank on the back of his small tractor. And you can see he went right down the furrow lines where the irrigation comes through the field. And he was able to do some subsoil tilling, kind of break up the subsoil a little bit, get a better root penetration, allow some channels for the water to flow through. And he also didn't stir up the soil too much to break down organic matter, certainly beneficial to the microbiology in the soil. But also any weed seed that might be buried deep down in the soil stays down in the soil profile. Turning the soil and mixing it up can bring weed seeds up to the surface, and that can make for a real problem in your field. This is a pretty nice plot of pasture grass right here.